Well, hello there. Welcome to the Big Cat Quickcast. This is Eddie, my friend.
What's that name?
Huh?
What's it called?
Big Cat Quickcast. Say that 5 times fast.
I can't. I'm trying to say it one time. Normal at all. Big Cat Quickcast.
That's right.
Alright.
It's gonna change. The name's not gonna stay the same.
Yeah. It's a working title.
But yeah, that's what earlier. I had like a moment of intense anxiety about just thinking about like mortality in general.
Yeah. Today?
Yeah. I get more worried just because of the fact that you really like don't have any idea in general like what happens. People can claim, and that's I wish I was one of those people that like just knew that like
just like if you were
Jesus
super
Christ
Christian
existed,
and you would just have nothing to
yeah,
worry about.
exactly.
Just die on your deathbed peacefully, like I'm going home.
That's what I wish. Yeah.
I mean,
I wish that's how I felt.
I'm not personally like that, but I'm really happy for everyone who is.
But do you kind of like wish you like just
absolutely
felt that way?
Yeah.
Not like, I mean, I imagine you probably get like similar feelings like I do.
Yeah, I mean, I was a Christian for a long time, and when I started, not believing in God anymore, I felt really bad because I was like really super Christian when I was Christian, and but like deep inside, I knew like I don't believe this, no matter like how hard I try to, pay a lip service. But shoot, I felt so good. I never, had any, regrets about being Christian. I was just like, hey, you died, you're going to heaven.
Do you think there's like, what do you think is good about it and bad about like Christianity in general, like in the like on like what it does for the world, or like parts of it? Are there parts that you agree with it, like that's there's things you shouldn't do, or is it like? Do you think? Let's start with a broader question, or do you think like any of the Bible stuff in the Bible is real?
Well, a lot of the Bible is definitely real. It's just a matter of history. Like, I'm not really 100% sure exactly what's in the Bible, but a lot of the countries that they talk about, are real. There's real wars that really happened in history. I think it's definitely a book, like a storybook. I mean, Jonah got eaten by a whale. He came out 7 days later after an angel talked to him. That's crazy. That's bananas.
So that's the thing, is that what's the point of having those things in there if they didn't really happen? Because it's really hard to believe that what was it, 2,000 years ago or whatever plus years ago, there was just magic shit happening to everybody like all the time. But you could imagine like with the lack of technology, that it was like hard to discredit people. Like you could just go to another town and be like, I'm fucking Jerry Tomlinson, and I saved a whole village with my bare fist. I fought off a whole army, or whatever you say, murdered people or whatever. You're just like,
yeah, I mean, like what, 10 years ago.
So were people just hella gullible?
Yeah, I mean, now is a weird time to be alive because everyone has all the information that's ever existed. Like 10 years ago, you could just lie. And no one's going to go to the library to fucking prove your lie. You could just say your uncle was the fucking...
And people did.
Elvis or something.
People did, though. Like, all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, my stepdad always tells my brother that the only family, they're OLNEY, that they were one of the 14 original founders of Rhode Island. Oh, and that he's related to Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy. I don't know. Pretty long shot, I would say, but hey, maybe.
But I don't know. I guess you could be distantly related to a lot of people.
Yeah, it reminds me of a Louis C.K. little bit where he was like, God could fucking sort a lot of this shit out with like a 5-minute press conference. Like, why was he just talking to like a random guy on the side of the road or a donkey or something when he could just be like,
But
hey, everyone.
Have you ever had a thought that you felt like that came from without yourself though? From outside of yourself?
Not me personally.
Not even like psychedelically? I personally definitely done mushrooms before.
Maybe that. I mean, I've done mushrooms. Maybe I've had a thought like that.
Had some things tell me about myself outside of myself. Or at least that's sure what it felt like. Could have just been my inner dialogue still, I guess. But it felt like they were just telling me like that what I need to stop doing or like things like that from outside myself, like somebody else's perspective. Or stop worrying, they were like, stop worrying about this that I always worry about or whatever. That happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird going to church because people tell you that like God will like literally come and talk to you. Or they'll tell you that you've talked to God. But then you're like, I've never talked to anyone. I've thought to myself about God. And then it's just kind of weird. There's this machine that some scientists made or something. It's called the God helmet. It's a helmet that you put on, and it uses electromagnets to stimulate the part of your brain. And it's the same part of your brain that activates when people are having a religious or spiritual moment. And they can just put you into the God helmet and turn it on, and it just makes that part of your brain activate. People, atheists, Muslims, Christians, they all just come back and talk about how they saw God.
But what if that's just the key? What if that's it, though? What if that's just it?
I mean, are you saying?
But what if, like, in the past, the way to do that was to do these like psychedelic things, and that was the only way to do that. And now we've grown, and this is what we're meant to do, and we should just all be using that God helmet.
I mean, maybe.
And that's how we communicate with God and have a better life. I'm just saying, what if that's crazy? Maybe.
But like throughout history, anything psychedelic has been immediately associated with like witchcraft and the devil. Like there was a summer where everyone.
But history is only told by like the victors and shit. So if there's different cultural history. So if we were doing like if the Native Americans got to write the history books, would it be like that?
I mean, definitely not. They did ayahuasca and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. So it would be a totally different perspective.
I mean, what would be a different?
Just
the way society perceives religion.
They weren't just like killing each other. The Native Americans weren't necessarily like killing each other because of like they thought each other were witches because of.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think so.
Psychedelics. So they would have told a different story about psychedelics, and the long run, it probably would have actually been
Mother Sky Turtle.
Whatever. But who's to say that didn't mean more than what we're like taught from fucking these like other guys that just.
Yeah, no. Have you ever heard Native American like origin stories and myths? And they're all really interesting.
Yeah, I think there's. I think there's definitely like they have some. Everybody has different like versions of the world and knowledge and a different perspective to pass on. Each like culture.
Yeah, well, that
a lot of people get stuck into like idea that only your culture, which I guess in the past it seems like that would be more like permissible, like to get caught up in that feeling because you weren't connected. But it's like now that we have like social media and everything it does is like to me, I would love to go to like travel to different countries. If I could, I would hella go to just like random ass countries, Ukraine, wherever, and just to like really chill with like normal people there and like soak in their culture and stuff. Cause everybody definitely gets like a level of brainwash in their own country, like, and to think that like America is like, or we're like incapable of being brainwashed is, a little crazy to think too.
Do you let me up a dab? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely weird. I mean, I've talked to people from other countries online. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So, quick cat clawcast.
Big cast. Big cat quick cast.
Quick cat.
Big cat quick cast.
Big cat
Quick cast.
cast.
Although, I need to change that name because
It's hard to say.
it's not only hard to say, and it's like, that just like kind of leaves the idea that I have to make every podcast quick, which is not like necessarily what I'm trying to do. I don't know why. It was just like the first name I came up with. I just wrote it down. It was just off the cuff.
What is this right here?
About, I want to learn, what, the strain or whatever?
We're in California, so weed's legal. Recreational weed.
This one's called, I don't know, the brand is called Strong John.
It's not crazy that we could just go to the store and buy weed.
I know, to think of like when we were smoking weed together at first, at
Yeah.
15.
Oh, like Bert Kreischer always says, like, we used to get in the car with strangers. Be like,
Hella sketchy as we did. We had bought weed from the sketchiest people for sure. Remember going into high school? It was like kind of like the open air market. Like, who's got a 5-sack? Me, you, and Jordan, and all meet up and fucking Mr. World's. Alright, I got a couple dollars. Shout out to Mr. World if he ever sees this. That'll be cool. I talked to my Christopher West, my fucking math teacher over Messenger. He was like my coolest math teacher I ever had. He was hella funny. He always knew I was like stoned in class, and he was at St. Mary's. And he got kicked out of St. Mary's. He was too cool for St. Mary's.
well, that was a stuffy private school.
But he wasn't. He would write. He had Chuck Norris jokes up on a new one every day up on the board.
Yeah.
He was that cool. And he'd be like, "What are you gonna do today, John? Are you gonna go fucking home and roast a bull and play some N64 or what?" Yeah, he's cool. I talked to him. He's in Louisiana right now, in New Orleans, near New Orleans. He's doing something. I forgot what he said, but he was cool. He's like, "Yeah, I remember you."
Yeah, good old days.
Good time. You have any teachers like that you actually liked? Mr. Whirl.
Dude, I had so many teachers. I went to 11 different high schools.
I didn't go to 11, but I went to a lot like you.
Yeah, I just got getting kicked out for just hella random, stupid reasons, or we would move or something. I was like never a disobedient kid. Like I would never, say no to a teacher or be rude or anything.
Mm.
I would just quietly just not do my work, never do homework, and I would just like leave all the time, whatever most of the time. I would just I'm gonna go.
Just dip off.
Yeah. I feel like I did not do one single piece of homework for my whole 4 years in high school.
Same here. Motrin. Just so people don't. Anything else.
So Midol.
Yeah, they don't think it's a Midol. I'm gonna go grab another beer.
Well,
I'll pause it.
until next time. Or not.
Or we can talk about what you think about what do you think about the whole idea that I was bringing up today in general? Of like, if you could come up with a drug policy, the idea of what you think would work best. Off the cuff, obviously there's going to be holes in it. But saying it's like anybody that's going to come up with one in general. But if you could come up with a idea of like a drug policy, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean,
How do you end the war on drugs, Eddie? Mr. President, what are we going to do about the drug war?
I guess the first thing I would say is anyone with a nonviolent marijuana crime should be released. Because, I mean...
So executive order, day one, your presidency.
Anyone with a prison term for less than a pound of marijuana should be released. If they've served 6 months or something. If
So but what's the difference between a pound and fucking less than a pound? What's the difference between a few pounds?
Well, the states still have the right to decide whether drugs are legal or not.
Okay, so states' rights, but federally.
Federally, I don't think marijuana should be legal, but other drugs,
Are you gonna declassify it?
Yeah.
Schedule of drugs.
I wouldn't have a certain schedule. I would maybe make alcohol and tobacco a schedule. I don't remember if the schedule 1 is the worst.
Wow, it's so confusing.
Yeah, I think
they're all backwards anyway.
Schedule,
like, what isn't marijuana like 1 and like the other one's like not so bad?
Cocaine is like only 3 or something. Yeah, I would classify tobacco and alcohol as maybe a schedule 5 or whatever it is. Something.
The worst.
No, just like a minor one.
Mm.
I think methamphetamine should be number 1. I think there should be a penalty for selling meth, definitely. Doing meth, I think maybe not doing meth itself should be punishable, but maybe it should be a multiplier with other crimes. Like, if you're on probation and you commit a crime, it multiplies your sentence. Maybe if you're possessing and having cocaine while you're, robbing people, maybe that should be a magnified sentence.
So you think in the correctional system, then you think it's good to lock people out? Give them time.
If they're smoking meth and breaking into houses, yes. Okay.
What do you think about the correctional system in general?
I think in America, we're kind of like storing people. There's just so much that we throw people away for, and there's, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but there's a prison industrial complex. There's the prisons are private, so
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like
people.
I've heard. I don't know if it's 100% true that you can literally buy stocks in some prisons.
Oh, you can definitely.
There's
like prison unions, and it was funny. A minute ago we were talking about Mr. Worrell, our old teacher. Mm-hmm. I remember one day we were in his class, and he showed us a movie. It was about juvenile private prisons, and how this one kid got 10 years for throwing a piece of meat, like ham or something, at his stepdad. But they put him in. They gave him like a 2-month sentence, and every 2 months they would just write him up for anything and everything, and they just kept, whenever he was like running out of his time, they just gave him something like, oh, you didn't finish your plate and return to the area. It's already been 17 minutes and you only have 15 minutes. That's 6 days on your sentence. It's like that one movie, Cool Hand Luke, how he gets sent to a prison, and he's like, oh, I only got 2 weeks left, and then they're all like, you ain't never getting out of here, because wouldn't put you more time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so when it comes to drug offenses, I honestly don't know the breakdown of how many non-violent criminals are put away just for drugs, not for doing any other crimes. But say someone caught someone, he had cocaine in his pocket. He got stopped and frisked. So he's in jail for just the cocaine, nothing else. He wasn't high. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't pickpocketing. Mm. Should he get a year? Seems pretty high. He wasn't hurting anything.
But I think a ticket.
Yeah.
I think a ticket. You get your dope taken and a ticket.
Or at the very least, they take you to jail. for an hour, and then they release you.
Does that not seem even extreme?
It does just kind of just get you into the system so they can. It's like their penalty is just trying to stack things up against certain people.
And I think that's a big part of it, though. It's like they get you into the system, and the system is not meant to be gotten out of, like, easily. The only way to do it is if you do every single thing they say, and it's like, why can't a guy get high and not be a criminal? You know, why can't a guy do coke and not be a criminal? Millions of people do coke and are not criminals.
Yeah.
I'm guaranteed. I mean, it's not my thing, but I'm just saying there's people that do it. I mean, I know several people that do it fairly often and are not criminals at work, or like completely live normal lives, or, you know, working people and whatnot, so.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like in America, a lot of people...
And that's the thing I go back to, it's like, also, they don't do coke all the time. It's like they do it on the weekend or whatever, it's like, I mean, I personally don't, as long as you're not, like, I don't see how that's harming anybody or how that's even wrong. Don't drink and drive, don't do it and drive. I just don't see how it's any different or any, you know. A drug's a drug to me.
Yeah, but
You smoke, I mean, I'll admit it, man. If you don't smoke pot like I do all the time, and you smoke weed, boy, weed is fucking strong.
Yeah.
Weed is one of the strongest drugs. Like, if you don't do it all the time, I would go as far as to say, if you don't smoke weed barely ever, you can you can smoke some weed and it's a stronger drug than taking like some morphine. If you don't take morphine all the time. Psychedelically, like mind-wise, pot is a way stronger drug than fucking like morphine. If you're not doing it every day. No? Do you agree?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, dude, if you take someone who's never smoked and you just have them smoke like a whole big old blunt or something, they're gonna be high. They might not even feel good. I don't know.
Like if I don't do anything for a month, and if I take a morphine, I'll be high off that morphine for a while, and I'll be pretty high, I'm sure. Mind-wise, though, I'm pretty sure I would be more high off of weed. My opinion. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Maybe, I think what would happen if we tried to implement some, like, wide sweeping repeals on, you know, the drug laws in America, California specifically, or I don't know, wherever you want to do it for. I think if you could get people on board with it, whatever, what you probably would find what would happen is immediately after, the statistics of negative things from drugs are just going to go up. Like, so many more overdoses, so many more crimes related to drugs. Because if there's no penalty for it, and maybe morally, it shouldn't be.
I don't think that's how things work. I think life in general and things work in a very paradoxical, like, way. Where it's like the uncommon, or what you would think is like the outrageous, a lot of the time, stance is like actually the most like reasonable one. Maybe I
heard it was the opposite. You know, the simplest solution is probably the right one. I don't know, but it could be tested. See, that's why we need these little weird small democratic socialist countries, because they're so, you know, heterozygous. They're just one race, one, you know, kind of income. It's so small. We could just try it there and see what happens. But America, that's so big. So many different demographics.
You're already like kind of reaching to a whole nother like kind of very touchy subject. Like these other countries being like homogenous. It's like everybody loves to compare America to everywhere else, but every other country is a country of a people.
America.
It's like they're literally a certain type of people, and they're like it's like homogenous mostly, in like most of these countries. I mean, granted, there's like England, the UK, or whatever, that's kind of like more now You know,
Yeah,
starting to be more like America. But
I would say to compare America to one of those countries would, like, I don't know, it would be comparing, like,
they do it all the time. That's a leftist, the fucking thing that they love to do.
yeah,
They try to compare
you
to
would have to
fucking
compare one country.
America to like fucking Norway and shit. It's like, you can't
Yeah,
do
it's like
that.
America is the size of Europe, so
Not only that, it's
that's like saying for one
all
state.
these countries are like in Europe are all homogenous, where they don't deal with like certain problems that we deal with because of having like all kinds of mixed races. And that's the thing, is there are certain things that are different because we are so mixed. And people that don't like to admit that, there's good things to it and some bad things. I don't necessarily know what those things are, but people do not like to admit that that's a thing.
Yeah, and beyond race, there's also just they're so wealthy that they can afford to do that. They have such small populations, and every single person is rich. In America, there are extremely poor people in certain parts of the country.
But there's what also makes America good is that we have like fat homeless people.
Yeah, I mean,
We have homeless people that are fat, that are like have obesity problems. You don't see that in a lot of like, say Morocco or wherever. I've never been there, but I don't think you see. I mean, I had a talk like this with Khalid, kind of, and I told him I was like, that's the difference, you know, between like here in Morocco. He's like, in Morocco, you know, he's like, cause he's. Yeah.
well, if you're gonna talk about Khalid, you gotta say who he is.
Basically, somebody from Morocco, but basically just that. You know, it's different, man. I was like, you don't have fat homeless people in Morocco. You know, they're skinny. They like live in caves and stuff. So there's definitely
live in cave.
They really do. Like legit, Jared and Jessica were telling me that like fucking my siblings that fucking when they went there was like these kids that live in caves and shit. They just like come hang out, like would stand with Jared and Jessica all day, try to help them with stuff, you know, to get like tips or whatever or something, because that's what everybody thinks, that if you're white and you go to Morocco, you're rich. You know? No, that's just how it is. You're rich.
Yeah.
That's how everybody sees you.
I don't know. There's homeless people in Sacramento. I mean, we're in Sacramento right now. Every single overpass and every single
but the
fence.
homeless people here it's like due to like mental health or like a drug
they build these
problem
camps,
or by choice.
The camps that they make are just elaborate piles of garbage. Like, I mean, I understand a homeless person needing to salvage things for shelter, but they'll just have like a pile of rusted bicycle parts, like as a display piece in their front yard. They'll have like multiple structures. I don't know.
Structures, though, that's the thing. Like,
yeah, they'll build. You know, like when I go to Tijuana, Mexico, you know, you see there's like little shacks and stuff that they build, but those are like made out of cardboard and plywood and stuff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They'll make garbage teepees like the Native Americans.
Well, because that goes back to the thing. It's like the homeless people we have are like either a mental health issue or they're like severely on drugs, severely addicted to drugs.
And are you saying maybe that because the drug laws are so harsh, these people, you know, they got put in the system for doing drugs, and the system is what's keeping them homeless, keeping them from getting, you know, the mental health care they need, because they can't build anything for themselves, because once they're in the system, you know, they start hanging out with criminals. They become homeless. They join these collective camps.
Well, we've gone into this a lot deeper, but I think that's a small issue. I think there's that's a small part of the bigger problem. I think it's stigmas. I think it's a whole like slew of different things. Now even like if you, in my weird world, extreme world of like legalizing all drugs. Now, there's still going to be, like, select people that are just, like, addicted to doing it every day. But I think if I think if the stigma wasn't there, I think it would change the dynamic of things significantly.
Do you think
in
drugs
a huge way? Because, like, just these weird things, like, small weird things, how things are done differently affects every like human psychologically different, and like to have these mass rules, whatever. Every person thinks so differently than each other. It's like you don't know what these things are gonna like, how that's gonna settle in people's heads. I, it's so hard to put the like my thoughts into words sometimes, but just to like certain rules and stuff. It's just how people like it sticks in their heads. Like certain things, just like hearing like, oh, this is a rule or this is bad or
I
whatever.
remember
Like does a certain thing to people's brains growing up and like and whatnot. Like just being told this is bad or that's the wrong thing to do. Or like, oh, you're just gonna be homeless if this is what you do, or you're just gonna be a bum if you do this. When it's like, no, there's doctors that like occasionally do heroin. There's doctors that are like doing super well for themselves.
don't you
That
think
just
that
enjoy a sniff of heroin by the fire.
either that, or I mean, don't you think that, sure, it takes away a little bit of our freedom of choice, but in the long run, it's good? Like, what if it's a necessary evil that doesn't treat everyone fairly or right, but at the end of the day, it's for the greater good? Less people are doing drugs and ruining their life. Some people get swept between the floorboards.
He who gives up freedom for safety deserves neither.
But don't you think that you shouldn't be free to not?
I think you should be free to make any choice that you. Yeah.
What about your daughter?
Not. I think.
You think it should be illegal not to fasten?
For a 3-year-old, the person that's fucking not a fully developed human.
Do you think you should be allowed to do heroin and raise your daughter?
Yeah, if I can do it, like, and fucking not kill my daughter.
Do you think your bold experiment is going to put a lot of children at risk before they count up all the bodies of the heroin parents?
This is the thing. People that are going to do heroin already are doing it with their kids.
So making it legal, who does that help?
It's a start of, like, destigmatization, I think.
So, like, you start, like, making fun of, like, someone nodding off on heroin, and then it's like, hey, dude, they'll cancel culture.
I think the misconception that you have, though, is that just because you make it legal, everybody's going to do it.
I mean, I think a lot
I don't
of
think,
people
like they were saying earlier on the thing, I don't think you should encourage it. I don't think that you're going to be like, hey, I think it should be told just like you get these pamphlets like when you buy recreational marijuana, don't do this or don't do that, it's not safe for this, it's not safe for that. I think it should give you the facts and the known, what we know about it. I don't think that we should go, I don't think that there should be billboards saying, hey kids, come to the heroin store, it's great.
I mean, but the thing is with like...
I think it's a whole different story though, from what you're like saying. I don't think that just because you make it legal that everybody's going to be like, hold on, I want to do heroin.
Maybe you're right.
I don't think so, yeah. I mean, it's all a guessing game.
I mean, I honestly don't know, but I just think some drugs are so inherently dangerous that...
What? Name me one.
Methamphetamine. You do some methamphetamine,